All right, so for approximately the size 8 or 10, you need 2 sashes, one that measures, finishes at approximately 24 inches and the other one at approximately 38 inches. These are going to function and help wrap the top. The width of the tie, if you double it, is gonna be 4.5 to 5 inches on the pattern. Okay, so you can create those straight patterns. If you wanna just cut straight, create one pattern and then say cut here for the short side, cut 1 and 1, you can do that too. You have straight lines. And the collar is, after you take that off the form, you're going to create a grain line. And a line where the fold of the bias is on that grain line. I'm gonna move it over just a tad. And then where you have the fold, you line up with the grain line. And you cut this open, trace it around, transfer, make sure you transfer the notch for the shoulder and then your center back notch. This already has the seams added. I have 1/4 of an inch, so I'm gonna just trace this shape exactly. The seams are already in it. And then this one, when it's all completed, it will be labeled collar. You're going to cut the collar on the bias. So the grain line is bias. And you just cut that shape equally. Okay, so collar, cut to self or contrast, whatever you're doing. And it's a size 8 and it's pattern number 196. Okay, so again, pattern information on everything. And then the sleeve now is the last one. So we're gonna, this is optional for students who wanna learn the sleeve and have the time to do it. But you'll notice the first thing we have to do is get rid of some of these pins so we can flatten it. And this is just kind of a guess right now on the length of the sleeve and the width of the sleeve. So this is gonna have a lot of truing. Personally, for me, I would rather start with a sleeve block and draft the muslin from the sleeve block, pin it into the armhole, and then get my design. The textbook has us going from a rectangle, so it's just a little more difficult to do it that way, but it works. So on my sleeve, I'm not getting much of a curve, so I'm going to give it what I know it needs, a little bit more of a shape there, and that's where it wanted to end. And then on this side, same thing. And this is the center of my sleeve. Again, this is just in the drafting stage. This is where my pins were. So this is just a straight sleeve at this point. If you want a short sleeve, you shorten it. If you want a longer sleeve, you know, just like in pattern making. But what I'll do now, because the sleeve is really not very developed, I'm gonna just trace around these edges. Get rid of some of this fabric. Seam allowance. Seam allowance here. Put my single notch there, and then open this up. Now I don't have back and front differentiated yet, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my pattern and find out what works. So, size-wise is perfect. Okay, so we know we're good with that. We just gotta get the right shape. On the back. Also too, anytime you lower your armhole, your cap becomes flatter. Okay, so that's typical. It's not actually a bad shape. It's walking pretty good to this point. So I'm putting in my double notch. I'm coming up here. I'm right on the cap on the back. And then now when I do the front, it needs a little bit more of a scoop. So I'm gonna go ahead and open that and scoop that side a little bit more. And when you're walking, you walk at a 1/2 inch seam allowance, right? Because that's what it is. So there's really just about 1/4 of an inch of these. So I'm gonna just keep that that notch just slightly forward, maybe 1/8 of an inch, because the back was a little bit, I had a little bit less on the back than the front. So that's my sleeve cap. So I'll trace that off just as it is. If I want the big full blousey sleeve like the book has, I sew my side seams together. I put a notch at where when I fold the center to the side seam, I put a notch right there. If I want to put a slit, that's where the slit goes for a bias, and then you add the cuff to the size of the wrist. So typically on a size 8, you probably want to start out with a cuff that's about 9 inches in length, because your wrist is about 6 to 7. Okay, and that would be the rest of that pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and finish out the pattern. I think I'm going to probably sculpt my sleeve a little bit different, but you could go wider, you could go narrower, but that's basically it. And it will sew and walk nicely with this, and it also has in my drape, in addition to having the armhole shape dropped, it also has the shoulder lifted, so it just becomes a much flatter, more like a shirt sleeve than a woman's blouse sleeve. Okay, all right.